I'm working on my meal prep. I'm always working on my meal prep, aren't I? So this morning I roasted some acorn squash. This is my acorn squash. It's already roasted. And I like to eat a quarter of an acorn squash with my salad each workday. And I'll usually put some hummus or some bean dip inside the little hole. So before I roasted it, I took out the seeds. You can use any kind of squash, butternut squash, acorn squash, or pumpkin. I'm not going to eat pumpkin with my lunch, though I could. You can eat all of it. And so you notice I left the skin on. This dark color tells me there's lots of wonderful nutrients in there. I want to eat them. Also, whatever holds the skin to the flesh is usually full of nutrients. Maybe some nutrients we've never even discovered. So I do eat the skin, buy organic as often as you can. So I also eat the seeds, so use much of this squash as I can. And as you can see, I have them soaking. So the seeds that are in squashes and pumpkins and things are made to create another squash or a pumpkin. And so, you know, birds, I don't know if you've ever noticed someone spits watermelon seeds out and something will grow later. We always have things growing in our compost if we don't process it correctly. Anyway, so I'm going to soak it to remove those enzyme inhibitors so that I can get the nutrients. This seed is not going to go on and create another plant. Now I'm going to be chewing it and everything too, and so it's not going to produce another plant anyway. And so if you soak it, you remove the inhibitors that prevent it from being broken down. So it's not soaked when a bird eats it. The bird eats it whole, it doesn't chew it, and it comes out the other end and then it creates another plant. I'm soaking it, removing those enzyme inhibitors, and then I'm going to eat it and chew it and get the nutrients out of the seeds. And so whatever does pass through is not going to create another plant. So this is going to sit for a few hours. It could sit for maybe 4 hours. And you can see it's still all stuck together. I didn't worry about cleaning it all off. I'm just letting it soak to remove that. Then I'm going to drain and rinse, and I'm going to let it sit drained in a strainer overnight. And that is going to begin the sprouting process. I'm not going to completely sprout these seeds. I'm just going to begin the process just to create the nutrients that begin as a plant begins to grow. And then I'm going to roast them. So we will be having some roasted squash seeds. I keep saying pumpkin seeds, acorn squash seeds. Later, I'm going to flavor these with Cajun seasoning. You could also flavor them to make a cinnamon roll seasoning, which is delicious. I do use maple syrup for that one, but this one I didn't want to add any sugar to. And so I'm going to let these soak, and then I'm going to start the sprouting process and then get back to you. Okay, I'm back to show you how to finish off our pumpkin or squash seeds. So here are my seeds. I soaked them last night. Whoop, I'm dripping some water. I soaked them last night, and then I rinsed them really good, and then I let them just strain in the strainer, and then I just rinsed them again a little while ago. So these seeds, they have kind of a mucilaginous texture. They're a little slippery. So even if I didn't rinse them, they would still have a little bit of mucilage on there. And so I don't need to add any oil or anything else. Spices are going to stick to them. So I didn't measure this out, but it looks like about a half a cup. When you're roasting pumpkin seeds or squash seeds or whatever, if you want to add spices, use about a tablespoon of spices per cup. That way it's not too much, but it's not too little as well. So I want these to be a Mexican or taco flavored. And so I make my own taco seasoning. You can buy taco seasoning, but if you do, make sure you read the ingredients. A lot of times there are a lot of fillers in taco seasoning, and so that's why I blend up my own. My favorite taco flavors are chili powder, cumin, paprika, oregano, salt. Well, I'm not going to mix that much up to go on a half a cup of seeds here. An acorn squash isn't going to give you an awful lot of seeds. So what I'm going to do, I picked my favorites. I have chili powder, I have smoked paprika, I have garlic, and I have salt. And so I'm going to use a teaspoon of chili powder, paprika, and garlic. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of salt. So it'll be a little bit more than what I would normally do. Now, since I only have a half a cup, I'm going to do a half a teaspoon of each. So in my little bowl, half a teaspoon of chili powder. I don't like to leave the lids on these. I don't know why it's on there. Half a teaspoon of smoked paprika. And I'm doing a half a teaspoon of garlic. I could have put cumin. I could have put oregano. Those are just my favorites. I'm going to stir those up. Smells very garlicky. I like garlic. And I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of salt in there. So that's probably not even a quarter of a teaspoon. If you're watching your salt, don't worry about adding the salt. It's going to have enough flavor. Now I'm going to add my pumpkin seeds. Stir them up. You can see they're nice and coated. So I have my oven preheated at 375 degrees. And I also have, this is a silicone sheet on my baking pan. I ran out of parchment paper. So if you have a Silpat or any kind of silicone sheet, that'll work. That way you don't need to worry about oil. Because it does have that coating, it will stick if you don't if you try to put it on just your pan. All right, so I'm going to put it on here. Spread them out a little bit. It might be a little more spice than I needed. It might not have been quite a half a cup. Okay, now I'm going to stick these in the oven for 15 minutes at 375. Okay, I brought our pumpkin seeds out of the oven. See if you can see them. One even popped all the way open. And so I don't think I talked about the health benefits of pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are packed full of minerals and they have lots of fiber. It's a great source of iron. And so I strongly recommend that you eat pumpkin or squash seeds. I keep using them interchangeably. So these, once again, are the taco season flavored. You could also do a cinnamon roll flavor. In that case, I use a teaspoon of cinnamon and then a teaspoon of maple syrup and stir and bake them. You'd have to watch them because it might burn. The sugars may burn. I didn't want any added sugar on my snacks today. And so that's why I picked this flavor. Anyway, you can see it looks really dark on the edges there, but that's fine. It's still going to taste delicious. It's a great snack. Enjoy.